We begin tonight with breaking news. The Washington Post reports that this evening the U.S. officials have charged NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden with espionage. U.S. officials tell the Post that federal prosecutors filed a sealed criminal complaint against the now 30-year-old who handed over a series of government documents to the media revealing secret NSA surveillance programs. In addition to espionage, he's also been charged with theft and conversion of government property. Well, for more on this, I was joined a short time ago by political commentator Sam Sachs and Abby Martin, host of Breaking the Set. I first asked Sam what these charges mean for Snowden.
Well, this is what Snowden was expecting. I mean, he went to Hong Kong. He's been very vocal that he's fully expecting the government to come down harsh on him, like they've come down on all whistleblowers over the last few years, especially the Obama administration. But Snowden has a leg up on a lot of these whistleblowers, and that's the fact that he released these documents, he made himself public, he went out, he made his case for why he released these documents. So this is going to be played out in the public eye, unlike, say, what happened to Bradley Manning, who was picked up, never had a chance to defend himself in the public eye, and has just been sitting in prison. That's going to probably complicate the government's case against Snowden, is that we know why he did this, and there's a lot of support behind him doing this.
Okay. Well, Abby, let's take it to you. Do you think that this is a surprising move that the government would decide to pursue an espionage charge at this point?
Well, like Sam just said, Snowden himself, during the interview with The Guardian, said that he expected to be charged under the Espionage Act. So he kind of predicted this. And of course, I mean, look at the Obama administration's track record. Snowden will be the 8th person now charged under this archaic piece of World War I legislation, more than any other president combined. I mean, it's just amazing. You have Ellsberg and Drake, Daniel Ellsberg, one of the most famous whistleblowers of all time, saying that this is the most important leak in American history. But you know what? We're just supposed to trust Obama. Just trust him. He's doing the right thing.
All right.
According to him.
All right, Sam, let's take it back to you. What does this mean for potential extradition from Hong Kong to the U.S.? Could that possibly happen?
It could very possibly happen. Hong Kong has an extradition treaty with the U.S. There is an exception in that treaty for political issues, and this, with Snowden being charged under the Espionage Act, that's a political crime. It could be construed, at least, as a political crime by Hong Kong or by Beijing, which has a lot of influence here as well. So we'll see what happens. But really, as Abby said, this is the 8th time that that a whistleblower has been charged by the Obama administration under the Espionage Act, and they have yet to ever secure a conviction with the espionage. They're 0 for 8 here, you know, doing this. And just the fact that they're pursuing an Espionage Act is going to further complicate this case, rather than just sticking to the charges you mentioned, like stealing a property and using government facilities or whatever the other one was.
If I could just add one thing, you know, Bradley Manning's case, even, they can't even really prove that he's aided the enemy. Really, that would hold even death under the Espionage Act. I mean, we're talking about very serious charges that hold at least life in prison or even worse. I mean, so this is a very serious charge. Ari Fleischer, the stooge for President Bush, the WMD cheerleader, tweeted the other day, he's like, real whistleblowers don't leave the country. Oh, really, Ari? So you expect whistleblowers to just stay here and just face life in prison? I mean, this is the mentality of this administration. Then you see Obama, of course, charging him with the Espionage Act. It's just insane. Totally ridiculous. Well, against democracy. Sorry.
I wanted to, actually, Sam, do you have something?
Well, Michael Hayden was on RT a few days ago, and he said that he often wanted to tell these things to the American people. He wanted the American people to know what we're doing on their behalf, because he thinks that they would be happy with what they're doing. That is very much debatable. But what Hayden said is he didn't know of a way to do that without endangering the country or without giving that information to the people we're trying to catch. That's the crux of all this. The government so far has been unable, whether it's Thomas Drake, John Kiriakou, or right now with the Bradley Manning trial, show how any of these leaks have resulted in espionage or have hurt Americans, the national security of the United States. That'll be the big issue moving forward if they can prove any of this.
Okay, Sam, so let's take it back to the White House's motivation. Do you think that this has anything to do with that information that came out with the businessman who had the plane, who was tied to WikiLeaks, who was ready to charter it to help Snowden? Do you think that that's coming on the heels of this?
It could. The government's been investigating Snowden since all this came out. Eric Holders said the day after Snowden revealed himself, he said there's an investigation ongoing. NBC News is reporting that the White House has said that the reason why these charges were delayed is that they were working with Hong Kong to make sure this fits within the extradition treaty, which suggests that Hong Kong is likely willing to hand over Snowden if they've been working with the U.S. authorities before these charges were released. But Iceland may not even be the best place for Snowden.
Yeah, Birgitte Jonsdottir just tweeted today, she just said, do not come to Iceland. She's like, if I have some advice for Edward Snowden, she's a WikiLeaks member in the parliament of Iceland right now, and she said, do not come here. We have a horrible track record of turning away asylum seekers. Don't come.
And conservatives are back in power in Iceland.
All right, Abby, so what sort of impact do you think this could possibly have on The Guardian or other journalists who are still publishing Snowden's leaks?
It's a very dangerous climate. It's a slippery slope because we've seen James Rosen with Fox News being almost accused of being a co-conspirator just for doing his job. Glenn Greenwald's definitely in the line of fire right now. You've already had people calling for his prosecution who are public officials. I mean, this is not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. This is something very serious. It undermines the foundation of our democracy when journalists are going to be targeted or could potentially be targeted for doing their job. And we saw, look at all the WikiLeaks debacle. Media organizations that were just simply publishing the leaks could also, under some caveats of this ridiculous law, could be charged as well for aiding the enemy. So really, where's the line drawn?
And thanks to Snowden's revelations, we know how this investigation is going to proceed. The NSA has probably collected all of Snowden's information using these programs like Prison to go into his inboxes, find out who he's been associated with, goes to Glenn Greenwald or whatever other reporters he's been working with, go through their inboxes, find out who, and then from there you can just go and keep tracking. Today, The Nation broke a story about how people affiliated with WikiLeaks Google was forced to hand over their information to the government as part of that investigation.
Guys, we're running out of time. I want to give this to Abby. Abby, how do you think that this case is going to work itself out, in regards to other whistleblower cases? Is this one going to be different?
No, I think this is just the last on a long string of horrible examples of just how much of a guise of a democracy that we live in. I mean, we're attacking the people who we're supposed to be protecting. On Obama's campaign trail, he stressed how important whistleblowers are to the foundation and principles of a democracy, and really we're living under the guise of a democracy. It's really turning into a more authoritarian state than ever before when you're attacking people who are trying to bring light to criminal activities within the government.
Abby, Sam, always good to hear from you both. That was Breaking the Set host Abby Martin and political commentator Sam Sachs.
Thanks, Margaret.